Hello and welcome. I'm Sarah and I'm a biochemist, a movement teacher, and I'm also trained in functional neurology. And today I'm going to talk a bit about fasting and biochemical detox. So this will be quite basic, so it's aimed at people who haven't really studied fasting in detail, are toying with it and maybe are interested, or maybe people who have never considered it before. And also biochemical detox isn't just taking a load of green smoothies and weird shakes and powders. It's an actual process in which the cells push toxins out, and these toxins make their way through different organs in the body and get removed. And often this process doesn't work properly in people, but also because we are exposed to so many things now, sometimes our system is just overburdened, so it really is a problem. So when it comes to choosing alternative ways to manage your health, why are people turning to fasting and looking into biochemical detox more? Why aren't they going to conventional doctors, and is there a problem? So we'll have a quick look at some statistics, and there are lots of other illnesses and conditions that are rising and people appear not to be getting very much help. So if you have any or know of any, just write it down in the comments. So when it comes to metabolic problems, the most obvious one is obesity, and now we're well aware that there's an obesity problem not just in the UK and in America, but also all over the world. So just some statistics. In the UK in 2013, about 66% of men and 52% of women were found to be overweight or obese. So of course obesity is complicated because it involves emotional factors, life choices. But also there's the biochemical side where there are certain toxins and things which can and do interfere with people's metabolism and hormones. And also people have been given the wrong advice over the years about eating things like 6 meals a day and eating plenty of whole grains and carbohydrates. So there are people out there who have just followed what they've been told by who knows and are still unhappy with their weight. Also, when it comes to chemicals, there really is an issue because in Europe there's about 40,000 chemicals in use, and at the moment in the UK there's a parliamentary audit to look into the impact of these chemicals. There are much more in the USA, about 50,000, and then in other countries there are different laws about which chemicals you can use, and because of world trade we do get produce and products from all over the world, and we're not fully aware of exactly what chemicals people are using in different countries to manufacture or treat their crops. So we'd say that obesity and type 2 diabetes come under the category of a metabolic problem, for example. Of course there are others. Then another thing which seems to torment people a lot are gut problems, which would be IBS or leaky gut, and around 4 in 10 people have at least one digestive symptom at any one given time, according to a consultant gastroenterologist. And I know people who've been bothered by this for years and years and years, and it doesn't seem to be getting any better. So again, whatever's on offer for gut issues doesn't seem to be working, and it seems to be people are slipping through the net. Also on the mental health side, in the UK there's about 3 million people with depression and 3 million people with an anxiety disorder. There are probably more with depression because this 3 million are people who report it as their primary problem, but I think people say that about 30% of the population at one given time have some kind of depressive illness. It might be more, and throughout your life or throughout one's life people do experience bouts of depression, and sometimes they've got no idea why. Then when it comes to chronic pain problems, I've just looked at fibromyalgia, and the data said that there's about 1.5 to 2 million people in the UK with fibromyalgia, and something which is related is chronic fatigue, and there's about 250,000 people with chronic fatigue. So again, these categories of people tend to often slip through the net, and I'm interested in ways to help these people. So briefly, there are different categories of toxin and they come from different sources. So we've got things from industry and from exhaust fumes. Then we have heavy metals, which would be mercury, lead, cadmium, nickel, arsenic, and these can come from a variety of sources, including supplements that have not been prepared properly, plants that have been grown in soils that have got lots of heavy metals. It's in the water, in the air. But in terms of mercury, the main problem or problems are mercury that comes from fish, and it's the big fish, things like swordfish and tuna, that contain the most mercury rather than the small fish. Then there's the amalgam fillings, and although people have said that they are safe, there's just mounting evidence and studies to show that they aren't. So people are looking into getting their fillings removed and changed to white ones, but that's fine as long as you follow the correct procedure. And then people who've got black fillings and have bruxism or tooth grinding are obviously going to make it worse. It release more mercury. So that'll be the mercury, the inorganic mercury that you swallow, or the mercury vapor that you breathe in. Then there are mold toxins. There are 8 different kinds of mold toxins, and they can come from water-damaged buildings, but then you can find mold toxins on certain produce. Cocoa beans and coffee beans can have mold on them, and then grains tend to attract lots of mold. Then you've got the toxins which sort of, we'd say, internal toxins. So the main one is bacterial endotoxin, or LPS, and that comes from infections in the gut, and it can escape out through the gut lining. And LPS, or endotoxin, is very, very neuroinflammatory, so it sets off brain fog, pain, all kinds of other things which are brain derived, and it's obviously going to make any problems that people have got with their brain worse. And usually if you've got leaky gut, you've got a leaky blood-brain barrier as well. There are also other toxins, such like Lyme toxins, when people have been exposed to Lyme's disease, which can cause trouble as well. Then there are plastics, so it would be in packaging, and these tend to be the more fat-soluble toxins, and they tend to be estrogen mimetic, so it makes, say, a man or a woman make their body think that they're pregnant, so you get a load of problems from plastics, but also there's potential for them to be carcinogenic. Then we have things like pesticides, weed killers, and things like that, where they get sprayed on the food that we eat. And also the cosmetic industry produces a huge amount of toxins, and it's not just makeup, it would be face scrubs, shampoos, beauty products, all sorts of things. So women do use more of these than men, of course, but men touch women and have to live in houses where there's lots of this stuff around. So we are exposed to a variety of different toxins throughout our lives. So what kind of problems do these toxins produce? Well, you can get things like brain fog, fatigue, pain, hormone disruptions, mood disorders, anxiety, depression, inflammation, thyroid problems. Basically things that could look like something else, so it's quite hard to actually diagnose a toxin problem. You can test for heavy metals, that will give you a good insight into it, but on the other hand, lots of the symptoms which toxins produce, people can blame on something else. Okay, so we'll briefly look at how toxins are supposed to get out of the body, so I'll be quite brief with this. So to start off with, the toxins get pushed out of the cells, and then glutathione and other things like methyl groups or glycine can make the toxin safe to transport. So it's sort of like arresting the toxin and transporting it safely to the liver. The liver then mixes the toxins with bile, and the toxins plus the bile get put in the gut, and then the toxins get pooed out, and then the remainder of the toxins get sweated or weed out. So that's how it's supposed to work, and for lots of people this doesn't work. So the cells can have trouble pushing toxins out, which I won't go into in the biochemical details, but in terms of what you can do in your daily life, when the body is stressed, or you're in fight or flight mode, or the sympathetic side of the nervous system, this isn't the right state to be in for detoxification. You need to be in the parasympathetic, or the rest and digest, because detoxification is a luxury, and your body will do it when you're in that side of the nervous system. So the more technical side would be saying I'm in the GABA side, so that's the calming side, and the glutamate side is the excitatory side. So even just adopting something like yoga or Pilates or meditation or managing stress can make a difference to how well your body removes toxins. Then the next thing that can go wrong is there's not enough glutathione or methyl groups to grab the toxins, or not grab them, but bind to the toxins and make them safe to transport. And there can be a variety of reasons of why people don't have enough glutathione or methyl groups. So as we get older, we make less glutathione. Also, if somebody's stressed or exposed to lots of toxins, there just isn't enough glutathione to go around. And glutathione's a great molecule because it's also an antioxidant, and it also helps to regulate certain parts of the immune system. The next place where there can be a problem is if there's something wrong with the liver, so you could have fatty liver, or there's a problem with how the bile's flowing. There's either not enough bile or there's not enough phosphatidylcholine to mix with the bile so it's nice and fluid. And phosphatidylcholine, you can take extra as a supplement, but also you can do it a different way, because if you don't have enough choline in your diet, say if you were vegan, so I've got nothing against vegans, I just want to educate them on ways to be safer with their lifestyles, you can run out of choline, and then there isn't enough to mix with the bile to make it nice and soft, so the liver then starts digging choline out of the membrane, so you end up with other problems. Or you can end up with bile that's quite harsh, so that's when people get rashes and things. Then the next thing that can go wrong, the next place, will be that the gut's infected, leaky or irritated, and then this means the toxins can't get out properly and they just get reabsorbed back into the blood. Also, as I said earlier, the gut has lots of bacteria in it, and the gram-negative ones can make something called endotoxin. And first of all, endotoxin, as I said earlier, is very neuroinflammatory, but also endotoxin inhibits how the liver processes toxins. So not only do you get endotoxin, you also find that the liver's not processing toxins properly. So that's why leaky gut really is quite a serious issue. Also, something else which is kind of overlooked is the fact that the skin is the third kidney, so not sweating enough is a problem. So there is value in heavy exercise just for the sweating aspect to get the toxins out, and of course saunas as well. So there are several studies about sauna use in countries like Finland, and they have shown that the more saunas people have, the less cases of dementia that appear. And I also think dementia is toxin related because, first of all, it seems to be on the rise, and often if you've got leaky gut, you're going to have leaky brain as well. So with people who are older, maybe the membranes aren't quite as tight, and you've got all of these toxins coming in and making oxidative stress in the brain and encouraging things like Parkinson's and dementia. And then the other thing that happens in this process is that if the gut and the skin aren't processing the toxins properly, then the kidneys get the lion's share of the toxin and can't cope, and then people get problems like back pain and kidney issues. And with back pain, people will just blame something else. They'll think, oh, it's my chair, or I've gardened too much. There are lots of ways to deal with toxins, and you can either do it the biochemical way, but of course there's the natural way, because I'm a great advocate of fasting, and I think it's extremely useful for a huge variety of health problems, and also just for well-being, mental health issues, and also just how you are as a person. So just to be brief, with fasting, we'll say that there's this switch in the body called AMPK without getting too technical, and it's like a nutrient sensing switch. It actually senses the levels of the ratios of ADP to ATP, but it doesn't matter right now how it switches on, because there are also other ways to switch AMPK on. So we'll say it's a switch, and there are certain plant nutraceuticals that can switch on AMP. Exercise can as well, but the best switcher on of AMPK that you can do for free would be fasting. And when AMPK gets switched on, because biochemistry is biochemistry, of course it's not nearly as simple as this, and there are lots of interlinking pathways, but we'll just say that the benefits of fasting would be you can switch on AMPK, and then via certain anti-aging genes like sirtuins and FOXO genes you get anti-aging benefits. AMPK inhibits fat storing and encourages fat burning. Also, AMPK enhances autophagy, so that's when your body starts to break down old and damaged cells and organelles, which is really useful. It's like a spring clean. Also, when I was talking about phosphatidylcholine, which is a really important molecule, if your body's breaking down old and damaged cells anyway, it can mine out the phosphatidylcholine from those cells. It's just more to cater for people who don't want to buy any supplements at all and just want to do it naturally. Yes, you can buy lots of phosphatidylcholine supplements of all different levels, but theoretically you can also sort of recycle some of your own. Also, via other pathways, as well as AMPK, cellular detoxification pathways are activated, so it's again using something that's free, fasting, to switch on your natural detox paths. Then AMPK also inhibits mTOR, so mTOR's not bad, or it's just there, and it's the main growth factor, or the main growth pathway in the body, I'll say, and without it you would die or you'd lose all your muscle. And when there's too much mTOR you get too much growth, and you can get growth of the wrong things. So not to think that mTOR is anything bad, but again, you don't want mTOR to be on all the time. You don't want to be in growth mode all the time. The other thing which fasting can do via different pathways would be to grow new mitochondria, which is very useful. So it's sort of like say if you with like an electronic device, when the batteries are nearly flat, if you replace them with brand new batteries, new powerhouses, your torch or whatever is going to work again nice and bright. So that's the same with mitochondria. You're getting rid of old mitochondria via autophagy, and then there are methods to regrow the mitochondria, so it's called mitochondrial biogenesis. And then the thing which I really love about AMPK is that it can close up junctions in cells. So we'll say for the gut now, so it can close up the gaps in the junctions in the gut and help to start to heal up leaky gut. And there are other junctions in the body that can get leaky as well, like the blood-brain barrier, and you can get leakiness in the liver, and then there will be leakiness that can happen in other tissues as well. So AMPK has got loads of benefits, and it's very easy to activate it by fasting, so you don't need to buy anything, you can just fast. So there's another thing which can act like a switch in the body, which is very important for detoxification and relates into fasting, and this is NRF2. So we'll have a quick look to how that might function. So with NRF2, it's normally tethered somewhere by something called keep, and when stresses occur, so those stresses could be exercise, fasting, anything where free radicals are produced. There are certain plants which switch on NRF2, saunas, and stuff like that. So when there's something stressful, the keep lets go of the NRF2. It's not tethered anymore, and it can go into the nucleus and act as a transcription factor. So that just means something that turns on genes, and this NRF2 now can switch on genes which are needed for the detoxification pathways. Just to summarise, most people are aware that there are things like gut issues, mental health issues, pain issues that seem to be getting worse, and people are not getting better. So there is a problem with how modern medicine is being done. Also, nobody can deny that there are lots and lots of chemicals kicking around, and lots of them we don't really know what they do. So there is a problem with toxins, and it's not just this woo-woo thing. But luckily, our body has a very sophisticated detox system in itself, and I've given you some suggestions of ways in which you can help your body detox. Also, fasting, which is completely free, helps with detoxification, but it also does other things like growing new mitochondria, encouraging fat burning, anti-aging, so there's benefits to that. And also we've learnt about AMPK, which is like a switch that gets activated when you fast. There are also plant molecules that can switch on AMPK, and exercise can. And also I've introduced something called NRF2 system, and again there are lots of different things which can switch on NRF2. Some of them you can buy, and then there are things which are free, like saunas or fasting. So thank you very much for watching. I've got loads of information that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you. So it's ranging from anti-aging supplements, detoxification processes in depth, more about the biochemistry of fasting, and lots more. So anyway, thank you again, and goodbye.